Hello and welcome to an early access look at Rimworld. This is a sort of city builder survival aspect simulator provided to us by the developer of this game, Tynan Sylvester. This is a game where, if I had to summarize it into quick words, it's basically like Dwarf Fortress, except you're in space. Except there are also a couple new little things that set it apart from its original inspiration. I'll take a look at those now. I would say this is a review, but technically, since this game is in early access and not quite done yet, I can't really say it's a review, so we're going to call this a quick look. So the big thing about Rimworld is that it has a sort of variable difficulty mode. One of the aspects of difficulty is that you could choose your scenario. Naturally, you could also download some that might be more interesting to you, but to start off, we have the classic mode, which is you start with 3 people, a glut of supplies, and a technology level of modern. You also have the Rich Explorer, which is 1 person. You get more money overall, but since your character is doing less actions per cycle, this is a little bit harder. Then you have the Lost Tribe. This is a tribe of 5 people with far less supplies and far less technology. When you start with these guys, you start with, I think it was Neolithic, which is basically caveman era technology. And for the basis of example, we're going to go with the Rich Explorer, because I personally find that's the most fun mode, in my opinion. Then this is the big difficulty. This is the big aspect of difficulty. You get to choose how random events play out. You have classic mode, which is a scaling element of difficulty and threat. Like you start off with, say, one piddly little raiding party, or say a small heat wave, but then it ramps up to like a full raiding party of 8 people, volcanic eruptions, wildfires. You get the drill. Then you have Phoebe mode, which is basically your Zen Garden mode. You don't play this. You play this because you don't want to. You don't want to feel threatened. You just want to build something, make it look pretty, have fun with it. Then you have random mode, which is entirely random. There's no rhyme or reason to what happens. It just happens, and it's the most dynamic story of the element. Then you have actual difficulty. Very easy, normal, hard, very hard, permadeath, the usual. And as you build your... Oh, right, I have to choose one. Let's go with classic just to speed this along. Now, when you're creating a world, you make size. You can make small, medium, large, very large. I really should make larger things now that I think about it. And then you choose a seed, which is basically a word. It could be a word, you could just punch your keyboard, what have you. They just need a string of letters to work with. And once you generate your world, you actually get to choose where you want to go. And they have various biomes. You have mountainous biomes, you have tundra biomes, boreal forests, deserts, temperate forests, actual forests, the ocean, but I don't think you actually settle in the ocean. You know, just for the sake of this, we'll try it out real quick. Yeah, you cannot land on the biome ocean. And you actually have little clues of what can happen ahead of time. Like here, say if you settle near here, you'll be settling next to a pirate band, so you may be prone to more raids. If you settle near here, you'll be prone to trading more with the Landora of the mountain. It's very dynamic. Now, I'm not going to start something from scratch because that would be dumb for a quick video, so let's load up something I've been working on. I actually have a small permadeath game going right now. What's it called? Brenningsville. I called it Desert Bus. Whatever. Also, once this comes in, I gotta load up the options because I was playing with the music off because I like to listen to my own music. So let's take a look at the options menu while we're at it. Options are kind of bare bones. You have resolution, custom cursor, full screen. You can configure your keyboards. You can choose your language. Adaptive tutorial basically shows you what you need to know as it comes up. So there is kind of a tutorial in this game. However, there's not really like a tutorial to get you acclimated to everything. They just kind of throw you in, and I feel like that's somewhat of a what's the term I'm looking for? That's a bad move in my opinion. You need to acclimate someone to your gameplay before you just throw them in for something like this. This is a very in-depth game. So this is my little village right now. I got 5 people, all of them performing various tasks. Got a farm over here, getting me food. Right now, I was making cotton for cloth, but now I'm making healing roots. And then I have a little tree plantation here. Got storage, medical wards, prisons, crafting sector, community hall, storage, rooms. I don't have my mouse on. Let's change that real quick. Let's try this again. I have my little citizens up here, all up here. I have farms meant for building cotton. Well, it was cotton, now it's making healing roots. I have food, I have a plantation for trees, medical ward, medical supplies, prisons, power supply for my crafting area, storage rooms, home, and community rooms. I also have a little dumping station here for random ass supplies. Did my audio ever go through? Yeah, it just takes a while for the music to boot up. Now, the interesting thing about Rimworld is that while the building depth isn't really all that complicated, I'll get into that later, character depth is the big draw to this game. Let's take a look at Amelia Engai Flays. She has a background for childhood and adulthood. These actually determine what a character is incapable of or capable of. This is actually the character I started with because I started with the single character class, or the single character story. These determine what she can and can't do. Since she's a combat engineer, she starts with the trait Prosthetophile. This is an interesting trait because once she gets a prosthetic, she's actually really happy, but until she does, she has a debuff to her personality. She's also tube smart, which means she learns faster but is more prone to stress breakdowns if nothing goes her way. And she doesn't like men. Those neat little things that flesh out your skills. Skills are the big crew of your game. They're going to determine what you do and what your character does. Now, the big thing you want to know is that there is a flame next to a character's traits. That flame will determine how interested someone is in doing this. For example, Amelia is not really overly interested in anything. Like, she will learn how to shoot, she will learn how to tend animals, she'll learn how to do messages. She is a serviceable character. Meanwhile, let's take a look at, I believe, Tina. Tina has two passionate traits. She is burning with passion for animal training and growing farms. Now, because of that, she'll learn those faster. So that gives you more motivation to, say, specialize someone into certain classes. You could actively, say, take Tina more and make her do shooting, but she won't be good at shooting because she doesn't have the passion to learn it. That's the character. You also have social trees that shows how people interact with as characters. This is basically making sure they don't kill each other in a homicidal madness. You have gear. This actually has a slight influence on your character's mood. Mood is the big thing here because it will determine mental fortitude. You generally want to keep people in a good mood, but it's going to be hard to do that. For example, Tina here is wearing tattered apparel, so her mood is kind of foul, and she's also in a little bit of pain. This is influenced by the fact that her history involves her having a scratch scar on her torso. She also has cataracts, but I don't think that directly involves pain. Now, in terms of, that's characters. And the last thing about characters is that in order to specialize their workload, you determine what they do and don't do. You can have the basic priorities, which determines what they prioritize on the fly. You also choose what they do, like I have a character here, Martin. He's probably one of my more worthless civilians because he can't haul, he can't clean, he can't cut plants, he's no good at fighting. All he's really good at is research and doctoring, so I put him on that. Now if we set to manual priorities, it'll give you a number between 1 to 4, and you choose which one is more important. So if I want to say, make Martin a better doctor, I'll set his priority to 1, his research to 2, and everything else to 4. I'll do manual priorities later on my own time, I just wanted to keep that as an example. Now in terms of actual gameplay, it plays much like any other city sim survival simulator similar to Dwarf Fortress and the like, say Nemoria, Prison Architect, you know the drill. You have orders, you give them out, and civilians will do them on their own time. Like if I say, put in a mine, I have Engi and Sparkles as miners, so when I denounce that I want them to mine this steel here, they will mine that. You have stuff like that. You have structures, which is building walls. You have furniture, which provides niceties to your civilians. Security provides defenses. I don't really have much security here, actually. I only have one measly turret, but steel's been kind of low on this map, so I've been avoiding that. Floors makes the place look pretty and make sure your civilians don't feel depressed living in this alien planet. Ship is a late game material. I believe that is the end game. I haven't gotten too far into that, but I assume at some point you build a ship and get out of Dodge. I believe that is the end game. Zoning in areas, you use that to designate zones for building, living, animal rights, so on and so forth. Production is desks for your people to work at. I have a tailor table here. I have a sculptor's table. I have an electric stove, butcher's table, research table. Very classic Dwarf Fortress. Power. You have different power supplies. You have fueled power supply and you have natural fuel. And depending on how you operate it, you may need a battery if one of your natural supplies goes down. Miscellaneous is stuff that is kind of niche, can't really be put in anywhere. Like, you have orbital trade beacons and comm consoles, which allow you to contact other outside cities in order to get supplies if you desperately need them. Those cost steel, though, and I'm really low on steel. You have a sun lamp, which allows you to grow crops, but that combines with hydroponics, and I haven't really researched that because this place is actually really good for farming. There's a tool cabinet, which makes you work faster. Fireproof foam, graves and sarcophagi, marriage spot, party spot. Parties are interesting. They're basically random events that allow civilians to have a party and feel better about themselves, but there's no way to control it. But yeah, that's miscellaneous. Joy is free time activities, pool table, chessboard. I had a horseshoes thing set up, but I had a raiding party destroy that because they hate fun. And also you have TV. And temperature. Temperature is actually really important in this game because for food, you need to refrigerate food. If we take a look at our simple meal, it's frozen right now because I have this thing set to -2 Fahrenheit. But if you don't refrigerate your food, it will desiccate. That is a very important thing. And you make a refrigerated room by adding AC units. But on temperature, you have campfires, heaters, coolers, and vents. Vents are basically, I want a cooler room, but I don't have any supplies to make another AC unit, so let's just divert the heat elsewhere. That is mostly the construction part. Combat in this game is not complicated. What happens is let's run a simulation and see if it happens while I explain it. The gist of combat is you're going to be drafting all your parties. What happens is you highlight them all, you draft them. When you do draft them, you bring them over to your defensible spot. For me, it would be this turret. Wait for an enemy to come in, and then just turn them into mincemeat. Now, the aftermath of each combat instance is your wounded will go to the hospital, your doctor will take care of them. My doctor is Martin. And then once you're fully healed, you will get back to work. Now, medicine is kind of brutal in this game. Who do I have that's injured? Let's take a look at Engie real quick. Nah, not her. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, for Martin, he has a shattered rib, and his right ring finger is completely destroyed. Now, during combat, you could have various... Well, I say various, I mean every body part could be potentially destroyed. You could have your toe destroyed, you could have your ring finger destroyed, you could have your ribs destroyed, you could have a liver shot. And each of those takes a while to heal, and you have medkits for that if you look on the top left corner of my inventory screen. Now, this takes time to heal. You have to not only heal the specific injury, but you have to wait for this little HP bar in the bottom left here to fully heal before someone gets back up. And I wonder... damn, I can't get a prosthetic right ring finger. Now, if someone loses a major body part like an arm or a leg, you can eventually repair that. Let's take a look at Engie here real quick for my example. Now, Engie is a prostophile. She likes prosthetics. Now, she was being rather sour that she didn't have a prosthetic, so I actively had to buy a bionic arm and then solder it to her arm in order to make her happy. But if anybody gets a destroyed arm or leg, or even like heart or lungs, you could transplant that or you can make prosthetics. Now for legs, prosthetics are easy. Just, sharpen a piece of wood, stick it in the stump, bam, new leg. However, for arms, it's a little bit more complicated. For arms and body parts, it's a little bit more complicated. You would have to buy a bionic arm, buy a replacement heart, buy a replacement liver if you want to completely replace that. If you don't replace that, people will suffer. Like, let's take a look at Tina. If I remember right, Tina has cataracts. If a trader comes in, or if I set up a trade port, I could call someone, buy bionic eyes, and fix her cataracts. For a nominal fee, of course, but I could fix it. And that's the big thing about the character interactions in this game, and that's the health system in effect. Now, since this is an early access, there are a lot of missing things. I have a very expansive world filled with a lot of mountains and a lot of resources. However, if I play enough, I could run this well dry, because you don't have... There are trade routes, but there is no expansion of territories, and there is no Z-axis. You can't dig underground or go up. So eventually you will run dry, which is kind of a problem, in my opinion. With games like this, I like digging down, digging deep, digging into a volcano and killing myself. But it does show the extreme limitations of the engine of the model of this game. Since you can't dig down, you have a finite amount of resources. And even if you completely strip this area bare, you have a trader, but if you will strip this area bare, which means you will not have enough resources, which means eventually you will run dry. Another issue I have with this game is that the art assets, if they seem familiar to you, yes, these are assets made from the guy who made Prison Architect. The developer has noted this, and he is legally allowed to use that artist's assets, which are very similar looking to Prison Architect. Now, it's missing some art assets. They don't have animations, they don't have body parts, they're missing a couple things, and because of that, you seem to lose a little bit in translation. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell if Enge was missing a leg because she got it shot off. I would have to actively examine her. The art assets are a little lacking because this is indeed an early access game, so it's going to be in development. Let's run the simulation while I continue to dictate. And because of that, I find it a little bit lacking in the art department as well. The music is really good. I love how chill the music in this game is. It has kind of that Wild West feel, but you're in space, so it keeps that atmosphere without feeling a bit cheeky. But also, another thing that I kind of am disappointed in, we have all this vast space, we have people with engaging stories and dynamic stories that could be modified by the environment. However, it does not interact with anything. Like, say, if I settled next to one of those, villages... Hello! Here's an encounter. Let's demonstrate combat while we're here. Seems many of the boom rats have been driven insane. Oh, hell. So boom rats are an alien species that blow up when killed. Let's draft our big three. Bring them here. And hopefully they will shoot them in time in self-defense. I'll have them designate an attack. So, luckily for you, you get to see this nice little encounter. Now, I think because boom rats are insane, they are gonna... I'm gonna do something really quick on the fly here. I'm gonna designate this area as home area because boom rats cause explosions, which cause fires. And because they cause fires, it will eventually reach my farm and ruin everything. So I kind of want them to preempt that fire. Now, let's continue this. Where are you three? Attack. Yeah, melee attacking Engi. That was a little close, actually. Any more bright fellows that want to die to me? Yes, they all want to kill Engai. What's their beef with Engai? Hopefully that brush fire doesn't go too far because no one's addressing it. Yeah, if you notice the music cut out, that's another little flaw in the system, in my opinion. The music will eventually cut out while it cycles through new ones, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, as you can see, combat is very bare bones. There's no real depth to it aside from positioning, which is kind of important because Martin just got shot by my own turret. And we're about to get blown up. And now, since the encounter's over, I can de-draft myself and respond to the situation. Now, as I was mentioning before, while these people recover from their wounds, you have big world. You have a big world with multiple villages to interact with, dynamic stories, but they don't interact. Like, if I settled a village next to, say, one of the trader villages, not only would I not see that village on my map, I wouldn't be able to directly interact with them aside from communication relays. Now, I say this because with Dwarf Fortress, there was a very interesting mechanic of adventure mode where if a character were to, say, go insane and go berserk and just go nuts in the wild, you can have that very berserker appear in your next city and ruin your life. That won't happen here. I feel like that was a missed opportunity, honestly, because I would love to have something happen like that in a Rimworld. But since there are multiple Rimworlds and multiple random instances, I could see why they forego doing that. But I feel like that was a lost opportunity, in my opinion. Aside from that, that's pretty much the game in a nutshell. Let's actually take a look at other things before I give my closing thoughts. You can restrict people's areas, like, say, if you want people to stay in their workshop, you could, say, force Tina to only work on the farm and not go anywhere else, but that would be kind of goofy. You could also designate forced relaxation times, forced sleep times, and forced work times if you want to micromanage your schedule. You could assign outfits and territories and animals to your characters, which is really nice. I don't have animals now, but you could also train animals for recovery, for looting, and for combat. Faction shows your influence with other trading parties. Like right now, the Toxos of Crane, the Mosquito Stream, and the War Party are all mad at me, but that's because they're raiding parties. You got the world, which shows your world depth. Not really much interesting, but it shows how close you are compared to other areas. I don't quite know where I settled on this map. I don't see the icon, but oh well. Oh, there we go. I settled down here, I believe. And I'm not next to any faction per se, so unfortunate. You got the world history, but it's just kind of a little ticker chart of how good your civilization is doing. That's statistics. I've been playing this map for 5 hours on Classic with rough difficulty. Research tree. This is basically put a guy on research and it'll allow you to unlock more things. Like right now I could unlock hospital beds, geothermal power, machining. I believe the more you research, the more you unlock. That's not shown here. They only show you what you got from prerequisites. And actually, the menu. Closing thoughts. This is an early access game, and while it's got a lot of mechanical depth, it's still very bare bones. I really hope they increase the breadth of what you could do from a interactive standpoint, like maybe, say, link your maps with other friends, link it with other NPC villages, have a persistent world, maybe have a persistent planet where, say, if Martin goes absolutely fucking bonkers, he could go and raid other people. I think that would be really cool. Aside from that, the building depth is just right. I wish there was a Z-axis thing, but given how this is not a fantasy world but a space simulator, I could see why they didn't give you Z-axis. I love the character depth. I really like the character depth. It gives your character personality and endearment, which is something I felt like more of the previous games on Early Access didn't have. It was probably my chief complaint with Prison Architect, because even though the characters have depth, it was purely on paper. It didn't affect anything in-game. The details of characters in this game actually affect their traits, which is something I really like. Now on to whether or not I would recommend this. The game is $30, and it was provided to me by the developer, so take my recommendation with a grain of salt. It's a fun game. I like it. It scratches the itch while giving me a fun little time waster. However, much like with all early access games, I cannot 100% recommend this. I would say put it on your wish list, wait for a sale, maybe ask a friend to buy it for you, wait till its completion, observe it. wait till it's done is basically my recommendation, because I never recommend early access games 100%. I will say, however, it's a good game. I love the character depth. The building is serviceable. The dynamic encounters are something I like a lot. It's got a good variable on difficulty. It's just not done yet. So I would say, if you really like this kind of game, maybe it's worth $30. The developer actually has various different models on the Steam page, each affecting how much background story you get in the game. And it all depends on your pay grade. Like, is this game worth $30 to you? Maybe. Is it worth $60, $90, $120? Each gives you a different amount of fluff. Those were backer rewards from this game. This game was kickstarted. It was $10,000 of goal, I believe, and it got about $35,000. So, yeah, I would say, if this is your kind of game, I'd recommend it. It's interesting, it's got a lot of good ideas, and it also has a post-game, which most of these games don't really have. Well, I shouldn't say post-game, I should say endgame. The endgame is build a ship, get out of Dodge, which is good. I like having something with a goal. However, it is up to you to determine if this unfinished game is worth your money. I can't say yes or no because the game is not done. It is an unfinished product, so I can't give it the approval or denial badge. I will say, though, this is promising. I like this game. Maybe give it a shot. I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to try to get more reviews out. I definitely have one planned for Valhalla and Odin Sphere. But for now, enjoy this little casual look at Rimworld. See you folks next time.